Hello, this is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, March 10th, 2021. We're intraday right now, and this is our weekly swing trade ideas video where we bring you stocks based on a variety of discretionary, technical, and quantitative criteria, all of which we're going to break down for you in just a moment. As always, these videos are sponsored by our partners over at Investors Business Daily. We curate ideas based on their stock lists. You can get access to their stock lists with a link in the description of this video. So things are a little bit light in this video. I've only got four, we're going to look at 6 stocks, but really only 4 trade ideas for this week's video. Seeing a bit of a lack of setups out there, or just a lot of kind of marginal setups out there. And I wanted to actually just sort of take a moment here and talk about the market environment, the cues. If you recall, we sort of, had this completion here of this, measured move, kind of a 2-leg pattern down here. So you had this impulse leg down, sideways consolidation. Then we had the second breakdown here down to around 300 in the Qs. We saw heavy volume come in. We got a reversal. We got a strong move off of the lows yesterday in the Qs. We're up 4%. And then today we're sort of seeing mixed behavior. We gapped up at the open, kind of failed to hold those levels. And now we're trading back down towards yesterday's range and closing price. So there's a little bit of just kind of uncertainty, mixed signals. The market's digesting all of this movement here and some of the recent catalysts that are hitting the tape. So sometimes it just pays to be a little more patient and to kind of sit on the hands a little bit longer. And that's kind of what I'm seeing out here right now, or at least when I look through some of the stocks. We had some good kind of buying opportunities into the sell-off there, or at least some stocks that were getting stretched to the downside. Now that some of these stocks have bounced 3-4 days, things are now kind of in a wait and see mode. That's at least the way I'm thinking about kind of the shorter term action. So let's look at a few names though. So first is MRTX. This comes from my discretionary sort of eyeballing of charts here. We're looking at IBD's watch lists and our own TR150 watch list, which gives us a quality universe of stocks to look at. So this one here, I think, is just best illustrated on the weekly chart. This is what caught my attention. Got really good, healthy, textbook looking kind of consolidation pullback here on the long-term time frame. So take a look here at this trend that developed in the first quarter of 2020. So, when the market bottomed in coronavirus, the heightened times around March, we were trading around $66. We had this brilliant run up to about $250. That was almost a 275% gain in 10 months time. And for the past now, call it 3 months, we have been pulling back here in a very orderly fashion. We're kind of combining the consolidation through time with some gradual pullback in price. And I think you just have a nice, clean, orderly consolidation here. It's clearly not ready yet, but it certainly has my eye, certainly has my attention here as it kind of retraces in this channel. You go down to a daily chart and look at things a little bit tighter here, and you can see just the action that I've been looking at. So MRTX, it's not ready yet. It's just kind of pulling back here, but for a longer term move, I think it's an interesting name to keep an eye on. The second name, certainly a more popular household name here, is Google. Google, when we especially compare this to, NASDAQ performance, so Google tech stock, it's where it's going to get grouped most often. You see the Qs here pulling back, 12% in this recent leg. We look at something like Google, and this thing is barely budging. In fact, it didn't even close this gap here from February. I think this was an easy target. This shows the strength here in Google, because I think, this was table stakes to sort of come back down here and really just fill this gap and see, how price acts in those 1900 level, and we couldn't even do that during the heightened market sell-off. Now, of course, we could ultimately break down here. Maybe, this resolves lower. It's certainly a possibility. So we'll have to keep an open mind. But I think in terms of relative strength and just stocks that are acting good right now, this has got to be one high on the list. So Google, it's obviously a very large company, so you're not going to get this thing doubling or going for a 300% move in in several months like MRTX, but it's something to pay attention to. So those are the two that certainly caught my eye. Let's move on to some of the technical criteria, technical stock scans. So we have a suite of stock scans, individual stock scans and indicators on our website for TC2000. Today we're looking at the Ultimate Consolidation Scan, which is one of our newest candidates, ASH. This is the first one hitting our intermediate Ultimate Consolidation Scan. And what this is basically looking for is just stocks that have, kind of similar to Google, gone nowhere recently. They've been moving sideways, and we've got a nice range bound sort of balanced market, and we can play that for a ultimate sort of breakout or momentum move once that range resolves itself. So ASH, this one here, very clearly showing some strong relative strength. Again, if we just look back here, you can see we are trading just over the all-time highs for this stock. It's been really finding a lot of resistance around $86 or so, and it's still here. And that's what makes this so interesting, is because there's been so much prior trading at this level where sellers have come in, that if we can finally punch through it to the upside, this one could really start to move. And again, we've just got that nice relative strength pattern. So ASH, good technical kind of characteristics there, and we'll see if that can actually trigger and break out. Next up is RPAY. This also comes from our Ultimate Consolidation Scan. This is our long-term consolidation scan. And this one here, again, just very textbook looking. It has been you know, a stock that has been moving sideways here for the past almost 10 months now at this point, since May, June of 2020. We had the big run up in the first half of the year in 2020. We got as high as around $27, and now we've just been moving sideways in this longer term range. It's a little bit wider in between $21 and $26, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. It's fueling up. There's lots of transactions happening in this range, so pay attention to it. If it can start to break out to the upside, that's obviously your cue, in terms of momentum and a technical breakout. If it fails here, if it rolls over, then you've got no setup, no trigger, and hopefully you're not involved in it. If you're getting involved in it now, you just have to understand that you're in the kind of chop here, and buying low, selling at the top end of the range is usually kind of the balance, mean reversion type of trading that one would do in this type of look. So RPAY, that's our second idea coming from the Ultimate Consolidation Scan. Now, I wanted to leave with some quantitative ideas, but really our trading systems haven't been doing a tremendous amount recently over the past few days. We had names, so if we look at our shorter term Lamerick trading system, it had a very good last week while the market was selling off. In fact, one of the names that we were trading was, let's see here. Let's see if I can pull this up. Sorry about that. Bear with me 1 second. ALXN. So this was one of the names that we had, picked up back here towards the lows, and we sort of quickly flipped it out. And this is kind of the look. This is the interesting behavior, kind of what we talked about at the beginning of the video, where we had some opportunities. We saw lots of opportunities as the market was selling off. But now that we've, rallied a few days off of these lows, it's a little more uncertain. It's a little more dicey. I think this is a good example. We were buying kind of the blood in here as this was selling off. We flipped it out for, a 3 or 4% gain, and we're just flat, and it doesn't look so interesting to us anymore. Same thing with CRM, Salesforce. This was a setup in stock that Lamerick traded back in here, caught this small bounce, so it kind of stepped in again, kind of bought the blood, and then flipped it out for again another about 3% gain. And this one here, just from a technical perspective now, looks a little dicey. It maybe the lows are in, and the capitulation happened, and this can kind of grind higher here, but this could easily turn into a bear flag. This looks a little weak here if it continues to hold below some of this prior pivot. So you got to be a little more cautious. You got to be agile. And our shorter term system right now is 100% cash, which has been a long time since it's happened. But it's just not seeing any convincing short term, edge here, at least the way it's measuring markets. So it's kind of just hanging tight. And that's quite honestly what I'm seeing as well when I look at some of these stocks in our watch lists. So that's it. That's sort of what I've got. And, this is mostly a tech focused, we look at higher beta names. So this relates a lot to tech. There's obviously, other names in the energy space or financials, utilities even, that are doing better, that are holding up, that are trending. Some of those lower beta names we're just not naturally looking at as closely and as much. But obviously that's where some of the bigger moves are happening. So I encourage you to check out that space as well. So that's what I got. What are you watching? Are you finding setups out there? Are you more on the short side or the long side? I'd love to know right now what you think about this market. Leave a comment below. Always love reading the comments. And thanks as always for tuning in and watching. Every Wednesday we do trade ideas just like this, so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us at The Trade Risk to stay up to date with all the latest that we're publishing. Have a great rest of the day. We'll see you back here on Friday for the market analysis video.